Davey, the Scottish writer who has adapted A Dead Man's Dying, the Colombian play by Esteban Navajas Cortes.
Yeah.
Tell us a wee bit about A Dead Man's Dying, because it's quite a unusual, rambunctious play, isn't it?
Rambunctious is a good word for it, I think. It's kind of a black comedy and a bit of a satire as well, about Colombia in the 70s, but it seems to kind of be about many places and many times at once.
Yeah.
At the heart of it is this story of a wealthy landowner who has shifted off the peasants, the tenant farmers, to kind of the worst part of the land, basically the worst part of his estate, the bit that always floods. So that the good part can be, all that space can be used for cattle, which is a much more profitable use of land. Basically, it's about, similar to the Highland Clearances, a very similar thing happened in Colombia, where the wealthy landowner shifted off the workers of the land to the rubbish parts of the land and brought in cattle, which is a more profitable use of the land. And then the peasants, as you'd understand, kind of get a bit annoyed by this and kind of want to start taking back the land. And so it's kind of a play about a revolution.
Yeah.
Remarkably and kind of interestingly for now, because obviously a big part of why we'd be interested in Latin America is that the world has changed in the last couple of years, and kind of none more so than the last couple of weeks when it's really changed.
I know. It's crazy how resonant these plays have become.
Yeah. So it doesn't just resonate for me about kind of Scottish history and weird parallels between Colombia and Scotland, but also it kind of really starts to resonate in terms of what's happening in Libya, in terms of Egypt and all that. Where you've kind of got the people who have this position of real wealth and power and status, desperately try to cling on to all of that, and the people that they've oppressed for so long trying to kind of push them aside, knock them over. So so this play kind of begins with the widow of this wealthy landowner who's desperately trying to cling on to her way of life, and peasants who wonder if this is their window of opportunity to kind of take over. It's been interesting stuff in the news about whether when the peasants revolt, it's kind of revolution or whether it's revenge or a bit of both.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
And that feels like that should be the tagline of this play.
How much are they distinct things, or whether
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So obviously it's a really interesting thing in terms of Latin America, like whether when you topple kind of one form of political control, you then replace it with something more democratic and accountable. And I think our play explores the little window before that's kind of certain. It could go either way.
It
could all go badly afterwards, or it could all go well.
Leave it.
Which is kind of, I think we live in that world of uncertainty.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did you know much about Colombian history before you got involved in this project, or is this an entirely new thing?
I don't think we really know much about Central or South America at all in this country, because it's so little coverage in the media. And you get every now and then you get something about Brazil, you get something about Venezuela or Argentina, maybe Chile. But eventually you kind of Colombia, you're like, what stories do you hear about that other than drug-related stories? And this isn't a play about drug trafficking or the kind of drug cartels, although that's a really important part of Colombia's kind of political make-up this now, because obviously there's all this new money where they've made out of drugs. But this is kind of almost the extreme class divide before that kind of became the third player, if you like, when it was those who controlled the land who had the real power. And those who worked the land who were the powerless, kind of trod upon. Like any of it really, I mean, it feels like we're much more aware now of inequality, much angrier about inequality and injustice than we were in this country maybe a couple of years ago, when we were kind of like, everything's okay, it'd be great to kind of tinker around the edges. But now that there's been this big crisis in global capitalism, and we've got a new government which is trying to cut the whole kind of welfare system, and just we now are getting much angrier about it.
Everything's really a sharper focus. It feels like there's
it's personal again. For me and you as well as everybody else, So you know, I feel and I feel, you know, it's good to be angry again about, you know, inequality, and to have a play which is a biting satire of that. Well, a little season of plays that are kind of about that, even though they were kind of, some of them written 30 odd years ago.
Yeah.
It feels a good time to
put these on.
Put them on for this audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also new plays which, you know, they won't, the audience in Glasgow and in Edinburgh, they won't have got to see these plays before. But this one's, you know, it's the first, as all of the five, I think, isn't it? It's the first English language version of the play.
Yeah.
And in Scottish accent.
I know.
So I'm quite proud of that.
Yes. And you adapted it and directed the play as well, so you're the only writer that's done both jobs.
Yeah.
How was that? You're still alive.
I survived.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I like to work. Not all the time. It's sometimes great to kind of, if you're writing an original piece, to hand it on to another director, so you have two creative brains, or more obviously than that, but you have a kind of a real dynamic at the heart of putting on the production. But you know, this isn't my play, it's Esteban's play, and I've kind of just done the job of trying make the words live in the English language and kind of stream down the story so that it kind of fits within the lunchtime slot and is kind of understandable to this audience that we have here. And then, so beyond that, I just kind of got to know the play really well, if you like, in adapting it, and then getting to play all the parts myself first and change the words so that they would be how I would like to say them. And then, that you know, you need to get to know a play very well as a director anyway, so kind of setting up for doing that quite nicely. And then as soon as the adaptation is done, just kind of put my director's hat on and get into the rehearsal room, work with the actors like any other director.
Good. Well, it worked, obviously. And what else are you up to out with this? Because you have many hats.
I have a few different things, I kind of work on music as well as writing, as well as directing. You know, I have a few different projects emerging over the next little while. I'm trying to write something just now which I kind of very directly feel like addresses coming into the UK. So that's kind of the big thing just now. The first production of that will be some of the RSMD students that do the master's course there will perform that, and the student directors will kind of get their teeth into that, which is very exciting because I've had one of those students work with me as an assistant director on this project, so it's good to join the dots. That's the main thing, just try to get my head down and scribble.
Write some words.
But it's great to obviously, you know, work on this play, which is like the hard work has been done, the story, the characters and all that has been created. I'm just kind of tinkering around the edges to make it a bit prettier.
You make it sound like it's more than that.
So I'm absolutely been inspired by what I've learned about Latin American playwriting. Feed that into my new writing, original writing.
Brilliant. Well, that's great. That's good that everything ties in.
Definitely.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.